Coming up on Carolina Week.
First, hundreds of college students head to the Capitol, but will lawmakers listen to their pleas?
And studying at sea. Sounds great until you get rocked by huge waves. Carolina feels the effects.
And in sports, what can a triathlon team half a world away do to help those affected by the tsunami disaster? More than you think.
Plus, a look at your Carolina Week 4-day forecast.
All that and more.
Carolina Week starts now.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Good evening. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Carolina Week. I'm Lydia Garlico.
And I'm Joe Mott. Protesting, lobbying, and listening to leaders. That was the scene in Raleigh as students joined forces with UNC's Association of Student Government Wednesday morning. I saw firsthand exactly what went on.
Hey, I'm Matt Calabrese. I'm the student body president.
It was Student Day at the Capitol Wednesday. SBP Matt Calabrese, along with representatives from 16 schools around the state, went to meet face-to-face with legislators to fight for student issues.
Throughout the university system, there are almost 180,000 students. Now tell me that you shouldn't be able to get whatever you want with 180,000 votes.
Adams spoke in favor for one of the issues on the minds of many, getting a student vote in the BOG. In 25 central higher education boards in 22 states, students have the right to vote, placing North Carolina as one of only 5 boards with student members where the students can't vote. Opponents say serving on the BOG requires a significant level of knowledge that students don't have. But ASG President Amanda DeVore urged students to fight for their vote.
A seat at the table just isn't enough. We have to have a true voice there. We have to have a vote, just like every other member.
Likely encouraged by recent activities by the BOT to raise tuition, opponents to tuition hikes were also out in force. Calabrese sees the problem as not just tuition hikes, but lack of sources of funding.
And preferably, we'd like to see more state support so that the answer to tuition isn't just don't increase it, it's find the money somewhere else from the state that the university supports.
And we'd like to be able to have a constant presence.
After encouragement from the speakers and drawing up a game plan over lunch, Calabrese and others split up to lobby representatives from around the state for what they thought was most important for UNC students.
Calabrese and his cabinet members went to meet with legislators, but at first many of them were at lunch. But eventually, Carolina students found 4 representatives to listen to their concerns.
Moving now to national news. When President Bush gives the State of the Union address to Congress Wednesday night, he's likely to repeat many proposals he's made in the past. The first half of his speech is dedicated to issues abroad. That'll include an update about the war on terror and U.S. soldiers in the Middle East. He's sure to speak of Sunday's successful democratic elections in Iraq as well. But with that success, many have wondered if U.S. forces will be leaving Iraq soon, and some Democrats are demanding an exit strategy. But Bush says the U.S. will maintain its presence and continue training Iraqi forces until they can secure the country. And since October 2001, more than 1,500 soldiers have been killed during their tours. Now Bush is proposing to increase the death benefit for families of soldiers killed in combat zones to $100,000 and increase life insurance benefits. The second half of Bush's speech covers his domestic goals, the focus of which is an overhaul of Social Security. It's also one of his most controversial plans. Under his proposal, employees could set aside some of their Social Security taxes into private savings accounts. Another familiar focus will be Bush's No Child Left Behind Act, which he plans to expand during the next 4 years. And on the judicial front, Bush again will recommend Congress limit the amount of money juries award victims of medical malpractice. Now in his second term, Bush is ready to put more political muscle behind some old themes. Joe?
Thanks, Lydia. Well, students are getting ready to choose their next leader. Student government elections are less than a week away, and political groups on campus are announcing their endorsements. The UNC Young Democrats met Monday night to decide who they'll back for Carolina Athletic Association president. Last week, they had another moderated forum to decide who would receive the group's endorsement for student body president. They gave their support to Tom Jensen, co-president of the Young Democrats, Blakely Wilden. He says Jensen has a platform that could make an immediate impact.
Young Democrats thinks he endorsed him because they thought he had good ideas, and they're feasible ideas that what he thinks that he can implement in the next year.
The Young Democrats decided Justin Johnson was the CAA candidate for them.
And with a move that might catch some off guard, the UNC College Republicans are also backing Tom Jensen. The self-proclaimed liberal Democrat appealed to the group with several pledges. Jensen plans to turn student government fees into funding for organizations, provide a union office suite for conservative groups, and possibly get them a spot on the Carolina Union Activities Board. He also vowed to make sure the conservative student voice is heard on campus.
I'm going to stand up here as a liberal and say that there is liberal bias on this campus and we need to do something about it.
Jensen is now the first SVP candidate in 9 years to be endorsed by both the College Republicans and the Young Democrats. College Republicans also endorsed Madison Perry and Whit Walker for senior class president and vice president. Well, the SVP candidates have received endorsements from a number of campus groups.
Tom Jensen received nods from the Black Student Movement, the GLBTSA, Chapel Hill Town Council members Bill Strom and Sally Green, and former UNC basketball player Will Johnson.
Seth Dearman has the support of Blue and White Magazine, the Graduate and Professional Students Federation, and CHISPA.
And the Student Environmental Action Coalition is backing Siki Ballard.
Leah Blackwell hasn't received any endorsements. If you're interested in meeting with a candidate or learning when different election events will take place, you can use the Oracle Calendar, a new digital student planner. Many students use their week-by-week or other daily planners to keep their schedules organized. Now UNC's Oracle Calendar will electronically manage meetings or academic work for students. Oracle creates personal memos, schedules meetings, and shows schedules of when students and faculty can set up meetings at the most convenient times. ITS offers classes for students interested in learning more about the Oracle web calendar. You can log on to our website, carolinaweek.org, to find out more.
Well, who wouldn't want to spend a semester studying at sea? Hundreds of people wouldn't want to again after what they just experienced. Courtney Robinson is in the newsroom with more. Courtney?
Joe, what students thought would be a fun-filled semester at sea turned out to be a lesson in survival because of a surprise Pacific storm. Students scrambling. A parent's worst nightmare.
No, that's not what I signed up for.
On January 26th, a 50-foot freak wave rocked the sea-based semester abroad boat, the Explorer, crippling the ship and causing some injuries to those aboard.
I woke up, my bed was sliding across the floor, pretty much hit my head on the other door.
The incident occurred off the coast of Alaska, but its impact is felt even here in Chapel Hill. UNC professor Pat Curtin was aboard the ship. In an email she wrote, "We're all in something of a strange mental place, trying to process what happened. Just trying to put it in some kind of sense, but I'm fine, we're all still shaken. But we've also bonded in a big way, as you might imagine." Curtin's close friend and fellow UNC professor Lois Boynton was stunned.
It's kind of scared a lot of folks, and now that they're out of this situation and they're in Hawaii, it's starting, I think, to settle in on them as well as to just what this is.
The ship limped into port Monday in Honolulu, Hawaii. The Explorer is to undergo repairs. The students and staff plan to continue with the last leg of their journey. As of Wednesday, plans are to skip the scheduled stops and fly straight to Shanghai, China.
Courtney, you say there were injuries. Was anybody from UNC hurt?
Yes, Joe. Actually, Professor Curtin has a 3-inch gash in her leg. She's receiving treatment in Honolulu. One crew member had a collapsed lung and broken rib, and another woman broke her hip. But no students from Carolina were hurt. Joe?
Courtney Robinson reporting from the newsroom. Thanks, Courtney.
Well, coming up, we'll introduce you to one man with an iron body and an even stronger will.
This man's hardship isn't keeping him from getting ahead.
I'm Nora Warren, and coming up on Carolina Week, this little weathercaster has a very special prediction to make.
Mrs. Abruzzo, I'm Ed McMahon, and we're signing up people for...
Yes,
yes, I am. Yeah. Mr. Murphy, Ed McMahon. We're starting up... No.
Dreams really do come true.
Hombre,
dinero.
No.
Yes,
Ed
con
McMahon,
cámaras.
see.
Ed McMahon.
Yes, Ed McMahon. We're having our first
Ed
ever...
McMahon.
Yes. Tuesday night at the high school. We're starting up the neighborhood watch in this area, and here's all the information.
Stevie, get down here, please.
No, it's just
5, 6, 7, 8.
No tango dinero. Neighborhood watch. We're having this neighborhood watch, the first one. Right.
Larry, put some pants on!
I'll come back.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Start a neighborhood watch. It's just one of the many ways you can help make America stronger. To find out how, call or log on for this free guide.
Rising gas prices have motorists concerned and are forcing Orange County leaders to look for alternatives to traditional fuels. These motorists on 15501 are spending at least $1.99 per gallon to fill up their cars, about 12 cents more than the state's average price. Recent worries that OPEC might cut oil supplies by the end of the first quarter mean prices are expected to continue to creep up. The Orange County Commissioners are working on a program that will help alleviate the rising costs of gas. At their meeting Tuesday night, the Commissioners approved a plan that will provide funding for compressed natural gas facilities. These alternative fuel stations will help decrease travel costs for state employees within Orange County. County Environmental Director David Stansel says these facilities will provide a high benefit at a low cost.
And right now it's about 15 cents per gallon cheaper than regular gasoline and more than that than diesel, so it has a lot of advantages.
Stansel says he hopes the program will become available to the general public if it's successful.
Howard He is a local legend. He served as Chapel Hill's first black mayor during a time when separate wasn't always equal. Now, more than 30 years later, Chapel Hill is exploring a new way to honor this pioneer. Mary McGwirt has more.
The atmosphere at that time certainly confirmed that it would not be an easy task and that my chances for winning were very, very low.
The time was 1969, the year Howard Lee decided to face the odds against him as a black man in the South by running for mayor of Chapel Hill.
It was very difficult to put together a campaign for mayor because there were a lot of naysayers.
But Lee proved those naysayers wrong. He defied the odds, becoming not only the first black mayor of Chapel Hill, but the first black leader to be elected in the South by a predominantly white community. Lee's pastor for more than 25 years, Robert Seymour, remembers the night of Lee's notable achievement.
And one of the most vivid memories I have of the past is the night when he was elected, because many of us thought that his running was simply symbolic of a more liberal point of view and that he didn't have any chance of being elected.
But Lee was elected to serve as mayor for that term and 2 more.
One of Lee's biggest accomplishments is still a vital part of Chapel Hill today. He developed the bus system, making transportation available to all members of the public.
Lee was also the first mayor to hold office in the current town hall building on North Columbia Street. And now the town council is considering a proposal to honor this legendary leader by naming the town hall after him and his wife. In Chapel Hill, I'm Mary McGwirt, Carolina Week.
Town officials met last week to begin discussion about the renaming. They expect to have a decision by the spring.
Arts for All is discovering that people's differences can mold together to bring about a rewarding outcome. UNC's Developmental Disabilities Training Institute developed the initiative as a way to encourage community. The goal is to create an environment in which all people, some with disabilities and some without, can express themselves. They do so artistically, intellectually, and in turn, they learn from each other. Project leader Karen Crumbliss says when people come together, they tend to drop labels and see each other for who they are.
Usually the people who aren't labeled with a disability have wonderful experiences and are absolutely amazed at the quality of the relationship that can occur.
DTTI is planning a 3rd conference for this fall. The group hopes to gain additional support from the community.
Cystic fibrosis is a disease that can be difficult to bear.
But it isn't slowing down one local athlete who's well on his way to becoming the next Ironman.
Reporter Elizabeth Crumpler has more.
Any day that I'm not
Like any other Ironman athlete, 34-year-old Scott Johnson spends hours each day training for the strenuous Ironman triathlon, which includes swimming 2.4 miles, a 112-mile bike ride, and a 26.2-mile run. However, Johnson isn't a typical Ironman athlete. Johnson suffers from cystic fibrosis, a genetic lung disease affecting more than 30,000 Americans. People with CF carry a defective gene that causes the body to produce abnormally thick mucus that clogs the lungs and leads to life-threatening lung infections. In 2001, Johnson was hospitalized at UNC hospitals with a serious case of bacterial pneumonia and would have died if it weren't for the emergency double lung transplant he received there. Since his lung transplant, Johnson has competed in 13 triathlons, and this March he'll attempt Ironman New Zealand, a race known for bringing out only the toughest of athletes. Johnson is believed to be the first ever lung transplant patient to attempt an Ironman triathlon. Johnson's transplant surgeon, Dr. Frank Detterbeck, isn't surprised by Johnson's accomplishments and says he believes they speak more about Johnson's character than his medical recovery.
You can't get through a competition like this without a lot of effort and a lot of training and a lot of motivation. You need more than just good lungs, and I think it speaks very highly of him.
Although Johnson's desire to compete in triathlons began as a determination to fulfill his own goals, he says he now does triathlons to serve as an inspiration to other CF patients worldwide.
Over the years that I've been doing these, it's kind of evolved into, you know, I run these races for the people that are sitting in the hospitals and the people who are on IVs and oxygen.
For many CF sufferers, Johnson's accomplishments represent the promise of a normal life. In Chapel Hill, I'm Elizabeth Crumpler, Carolina Week.
To keep track of Johnson's Ironman New Zealand results, click onto our website, carolinaweek.org.
Well, rumor has it that some snow might be on the way.
Meredith Crook joins us now with some weather. Go ahead.
That's right, guys. We might get another blast from Old Man Winter. But first, let's look at this weather video we had Wednesday afternoon. It was crisp and cool for these campaigners, and it's about to get a lot colder. I'll let you know what to expect coming up.
Let's talk about dying. Everybody's got to do it, but nobody wants to talk about it. So talking about organ donation is even harder, especially with your family. Because to talk about that, you got to admit you're going to die, and that's hard. Maybe people think if they don't talk about it, it won't happen. You know what? That's exactly what happens with organ donation. If you don't talk to your family about it, it won't happen. Yeah, it's kind of creepy, maybe weird, but you get to give the biggest gift in the whole world, life. So this is what I think. Organ donation is not about dying. It's about living. Talk to your family about living. Talk to your family about donating life.
Hi, and welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm meteorologist Meredith Croak. As we take a look at your weather headlines, we do have sunny skies in the forecast, warming temps, and will spring be just around the corner. Today is Groundhog's Day, and Punxsutawney Phil did see his shadow up in Pennsylvania, and also the groundhog here, Sir Walter Raleigh in Raleigh, saw his shadow today too. So that means that we will have 6 more weeks of winter coming up. And as we look at the satellite, you can see we do have that area of clouds over the region on Wednesday. This is associated with a low pressure system that will start to move northeastward and bring us some rain and snow showers for the day on Thursday. Luckily though, you can see clear skies behind this system, and that means we're going to be clearing out as you go towards the weekend. So it does look like a great weekend coming up. Your surface map now shows that low pressure system sitting right down here over the Gulf states. Some of this precipitation is fairly severe and bringing strong storms to that region, and we do have to keep a close eye on that as it starts to move closer to our region. Now what we're tracking is, depending on the track of the low pressure system and how this warm front affects us, we can either be just above freezing, which would mean this would be a mainly rain event, or we could be just a little bit below freezing, and then we could get a mixture of rain and some snow, and also maybe some freezing rain during the day on Thursday and into Thursday night. But taking a look at your Carolina Week 4-day forecast, see it's going to be a beautiful weekend coming up. 45 on Friday, so that system clears out rather fast. Low of 30 degrees and 55 on Saturday, and warming up even more for Sunday. 59 degrees, so that's just going to feel beautiful out there. And Monday cooling off just slightly, but still very reasonable temperatures for this time of year. If you're heading to the beach on this weekend, high of 59, so a little bit chilly to go for a walk on the beach. Just bundle up. Low temperature of 40 degrees and warming up slightly again for Sunday. 60 degrees and mostly sunny skies both days out there. So it's going to be a great day to head to the beach, and the mountains looks good there too. High of 49 degrees on Sunday and Saturday, and 51 on Sunday. So if you're heading to the mountains to go skiing, it's going to be a great time, great conditions out there. They were able to make some snow on all the mountains, so most of the slopes do have broom surfaces and have 9 out of 9 trails open at Appalachian Mountain, 20 out of 20 trails open at Sugar Mountain, and also Beech Mountain has really good conditions. So it's going to be a great weekend to head to go skiing, but you have to watch out for tomorrow night though. So we're heading out to the NC State Tar Heel game. That's going to be questionable conditions. It's going to be tough to get out to.
Thursday night we have that game, and I noticed you're wearing your red.
I'm wearing my red for
supporting
today.
NC State.
Yep.
Well, we'll have to battle it out there on the court.
Well, Ann is joining us now. It should be an exciting game on Thursday.
Definitely exciting game. I mean, State hasn't done very well lately, but it's a rivalry, so you never, ever know what's going to happen. Right. So first coming up on Carolina Week Sports, from celebrity phone-a-thons to blood drives, people all over the world are going to great lengths for victims of the December tsunami. Coming up on Carolina Week Sports, we have the story about a club team right here at Carolina who's helping out, and trust me, they know all about Great Lengths.
When your children ask where you got married, will you have to tell them over there by the unleaded? When we lose a historic place, we lose a part of who we are. Help protect historic places in your community. Visit nationaltrust.org.
There's a vacation village near Orlando that's unlike any other. It's called Give Kids the World. It brings a week of joy to children with life-threatening illnesses, and it's absolutely free for their families. Call Give Kids the World or log on, and please, help give them a time to remember.
Welcome back to Carolina Week Sports. I'm Ann Sexton. And yes, it's true, I play ball like a girl. You've seen the pictures and heard the stories caused by the devastation from the tsunami. Here in Chapel Hill, Carolina's club triathlon team is going the distance to give even more, to give hope. Reporter Heather Catlin has the story of these Carolina students who are running to rebuild a nation.
Hundreds of thousands of lives changed in a matter of seconds when the tsunami hit parts of South Asia. Now many of us here in Chapel Hill are finding ways to help the victims. Some are participating in fundraising parties, while others are donating cash at local grocery checkouts. But the UNC Club Triathlon team has a different fundraising idea and is running with it, literally. They plan to send runners to the Thailand Temple Marathon during spring break. The money raised by the team will go directly toward the relief effort. A marathon is just one part of an Olympic triathlon, which includes swimming, biking, and running. Tri-Team President Lindsay Fowler says her team knew they had to do something to help.
We're doing this because, as college students, I think a lot of the times we don't realize how wealthy we are and how good we have it, attending a public university.
Lindsay says the team has received official approval from Chancellor James Measer, and the money from the club treasury will help pay for travel expenses. Tri-Team member Ryan Cosper, who has run in several fundraising marathons, says the reason for traveling to Thailand is very simple.
Just humanitarian reasons. And in general, I'd really like to be a part of anything that can help others.
Marathon sponsors say the reaction from the tsunami has increased overseas registration, and so far, over 2,000 runners are expected to show. And for athletes like Ryan, running is a love that's now helping those who need it the most. In Chapel Hill, I'm Heather Catlin, Carolina Week Sports.
Thanks, Heather. Team members say if for some reason the Thailand Temple Run does not work out, they'll run another marathon in Virginia Beach for the same cause. Well, from big hearts to big muscles, Carolina's wrestling team traveled to Duke with the Carlisle Cup point on the line. And you can chalk up that point for the guys in the light blue as the Heels pin the Devils Tuesday night for the 28-10 win. Junior Evan Sola dominated his opponent with a 6-0 win. And despite a couple of Tar Heels needing a little treatment after the bruising win, Coach C.D. Mock plans to use this win as a turning point in the Heels season.
This whole season is going to be a learning process for us, and what we're hoping is that we can peak them at the end of the year at the right time for the ACCs. That's our hope.
Carolina now leads Duke by 4 points in the Carlisle Cup with 15 points remaining. The Heels' next matchup is against Drexel University on Saturday. Like Usher and Ludacris would say, take that and rewind it back. It's time for another men's basketball grudge match between NC State and Carolina. The Tar Heels look to fly high again this season against the Wolfpack. Last year, the Heels won both games against State and will look to continue their hot play in the Dean Dome. Forward David Noel knows the Wolfpack want to slow the game down, but he says he's not scared of their quirky offense.
A funny offense that they have where everything is going backdoor cuts. They get you out, spread it, things like that. It's going to be tough to guard, but I think we can.
The game starts at 7 o'clock. So as Roy would say, get there early and turn it blue. So, are you guys going to get there early like Roy said?
I have rearranged my entire Thursday afternoon schedule, like I'm sure most of us have, to be able to be at the game on time.
I think one of the bigger questions is whether the State students are going to get there like they have in past years and really show us their red. We'll just have to wait and see now, won't we?
Sounds
Hopefully
good.
Not.
Well, thanks a lot, Ann. Well, if it's bright and clear, we'll have a long winter this year.
But if it's a cloudy day, spring will soon be on its way. Your Groundhog Report is coming up.
Recycling a glass bottle saves enough energy to run the TV you're watching for 1 full hour. Recycle. It's the everyday way to save the world. Making a can from recycled aluminum instead of from raw materials reduces air pollution by 95%. Recycle. It's the everyday way to save the world. Recycling all our Sunday papers would save over 500,000 trees a week. Recycle. It's the everyday way to save the world.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at carolinaweek.org. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNCCH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.
Well, in true North Carolina fashion, we've had some very unpredictable weather this week.
We certainly have. Carolina Week's Nora Warren visited Sir Walter Raleigh and got the inside scoop about what we can expect in the next 6 weeks.
This Groundhog's Day, warm weather lovers are keeping their fingers crossed that no little creatures will see their shadows.
I'm hoping for it to be spring.
Do you think he's going to see his shadow today?
Yeah.
School kids flocked to Raleigh to learn how these animals survive the winter and to see their favorite local groundhog.
I'm excited to be here because there's so many animals here and I didn't know they were going to be here.
Here at the Museum of Natural Science, we've seen rabbits, snakes, and even salamanders. But Sir Walter Raleigh is the main event. It's a sunny day outside. Will he see his shadow? He's standing up. What is he doing? What's he doing?
The groundhog did see his shadow.
The groundhog tradition comes from the old days in Europe, when people looked to badgers and beavers to predict the end of winter.
When they came out, if they could still see their shadow, that was a sign that that was part of their death, and so they would go back to sleep.
In Raleigh, Sir Walter Raleigh looks like he's ready for another nap. In Raleigh, I'm Nora Warren, Carolina Week.
Well, our very scared groundhog apparently did see his shadow, so we will have more winter coming up.
Unfortunately, but I'm sure that won't scare off the campaigners. They'll be out in full force this weekend.
Very true. February 8th is Election Day, next Tuesday, and the campaigners will be campaigning all week. I'm sure you'll see them out on campus if you stop by. And
we'll have our live coverage starting next Tuesday, February the 8th.
We will, and we'll also have a runoff show the following Tuesday. And so if one candidate doesn't win more than 50%, we're going to have that runoff show.
That's right.
All righty.
Be sure to join us for that. That's going to do it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching, and good night.